right, well, I am Sandy Falcon. I'm the manager here at Lyonia Environmental Center, and this is our 5th annual Wildlife Festival. This is our chance to offer the community something really fun and enjoyable where they can come and learn about the wildlife that they can encounter here in their backyard and the environment in which they live in too. So we really want to engage people to enjoy what Volusia County has to offer and what West Volusia has to offer. There is such an amazing array of wildlife and wildlands here, and it's just a great opportunity for our community to come together and enjoy a nice event where they're going to learn about animals, their habitats, the preserve. We're adjacent to 360-acre Lyonia Preserve, and it gives them a chance to explore that, and it's right in their backyard. And so it's just our way of giving back to the community to come join us here.
Even on the other side of the lake, you can find it out. It's above the surface.
Hey everyone, my name is Tom Tomlin with the City of Deltona. Today we're at the Lyonia Nature Preserve celebrating the Nature Festival. It's early February. The morning started off really brisk at 42 degrees. We're at midday today. We're all the way up at about 75 degrees, and we're in the heart of this 360-acre preserve. Later in the show, we hope to bring you some great clips from the vendors that are here, some wildlife footage, and we hope that you come out and see this nature preserve that's located right in the heart of Deltona, a place where the habitat is very unique, as you can see around you, with scrub habitat that supports a uniquely Florida bird, the Florida scrub jay. So, welcome aboard.
About birds.
Wild About Birds. Tell us a little bit about it.
We are a 501c3 and we are permitted from Fish and Wildlife to use these birds for education.
Very good. So I think most Floridians hear about two kinds of hawks, a red-tailed and a red-shouldered. Besides just the way that the names say that, how can you tell the difference?
Okay. Well, this is a red-tailed hawk, and there's her red tail.
There's a red tail. All right, just as we would expect.
Red tails typically have a brown back and a light underbelly and a very red tail. Red-shouldered hawks, on the other hand, have black and white stripes on their wings and their tail and a very red breast.
Okay.
They get their name red shoulder from when they extend their wing. There's a nice pretty patch up here on their shoulder.
Very interesting. About the same size though?
No, quite a bit smaller.
Okay.
Red shoulders are smaller.
Red shoulders
and
are
of
smaller.
course they range in size because females are larger than the males, so you can have a small female red tail and a small male red tail and a large female red shoulder, and they might be a similar size. But as a species, the red shoulders are smaller, and they're the ones that scream.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the one thing you would like Floridians to know about birds?
Oh, that's a great question. These birds of prey are nature's pest control. And if we can allow a natural balance in our cities, in our neighborhoods, even out in nature, without the use of pesticides and rat poison and glue traps, all those things are things that humans use to cut down on the population of those pesky, unwanted birds. But that's the job for these birds. And when you put rat poison out in it kills the rat, this bird will come along and eat the rat, and it will also die. The rat poison never stops killing. So that's the most important thing. Habitat loss, people are gobbling up the planet and using poisons to kill the very animals that these guys.
I think that's a great example of how the bird provides a direct service to residents, because obviously they don't want to see rodent populations increase and things like that. So that's a great point.
They really are our friend. They've been misunderstood for centuries. You know, they can be dangerous, but they're like any other wild animal. They're going to fly away from you. They're not going to come attack you. So there's not really any reason to be afraid of them.
Is there a website we can go to learn more?
Yes, my company is. The website is www.wildaboutbirds.org.
Very good. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much.
My name is David Hartgrove. I'm the President and Conservation Chair for Halifax River Audubon. Halifax River Audubon started in 1923 as the Halifax River Bird Club. The following year we affiliated with what was then the Florida Audubon Society, and also with the National Audubon Society. Volusia County is unique. We're the only county in Florida with 3 Audubon chapters. As I said, we started in 1923. In the early 60s, a group of professors at Stetson decided they were tired of driving all the way across the county to come to meetings, so they started West Volusia Audubon. And then in the early 70s, a group down in Edgewater, New Smyrna Beach came to the same conclusion. They started Southeast Volusia Audubon. Audubon is a national organization that is engaged in environmental education, advocacy for the environment and for wildlife, for quality of life for everybody. So.
Well,
it's good work.
David, thank you for engaging with Deltona TV.
You're certainly welcome.
Let me ask you this. This is Deltona TV. Mm-hmm. Is it okay for a Deltona resident to join the Halifax Audubon Society?
They certainly can. Okay. It would be kind of a long way to drive to go to meetings. So fortunately, there is two options that would be probably easiest over here for people in Deltona. One would be Seminole Audubon, and they have a booth over there.
Okay.
And then there's also West Volusia Audubon.
Okay.
Either one would probably be closer for Deltona
Now,
residents.
would it be a benefit for them to actually go to Halifax because there'd be a different set of birds to maybe view in that part of the county?
Yeah, and usually each one of these Audubon chapters has an active field trip program.
Okay.
In our case, about every 2 weeks we have a field trip.
Okay.
And we go. Sometimes we may travel an hour and a half, 2 hours to go someplace. Generally, we're going to go someplace where we're going to see birds that are different than what we have in our own backyard. So on our side of the county, we have a lot of wading birds, herons, egrets, things like that.
Right.
We certainly would come here to see scrub jays and some of the other birds that are more likely to be seen on this side of the county.
David, do you believe Volusia County is unique in that respect in terms of seeing a diversity of the bird life that you would see over on the coastal, and now we have scrub over here in Deltona?
Right.
Okay.
Certainly are.
Yeah, very good. Well, thank you for engaging with us.
Okay.
Thanks.
Very nice talking.
Hello everyone, my name is Danielle Ramsey. I'm with Volusia County Environmental Management. I'm the Sustainability and Volunteer Coordinator. If you're interested in getting involved with the environment, please reach out at www.volunteervolusia.org. We'll get you hooked up with your favorite activity and give back to the environment and get involved with wildlife.
Keep that. Today we're here with Debbie Wright, Manatee Protection Manager with Volusia County, and I wanted to let her introduce herself and what her department does.
Hi, as you said, my name is Debbie Wright. I'm the manager for the Manatee Protection Program. Under that program, we have the monofilament recycling program where people can adopt our monofilament bins throughout the county, and we send off that fishing line to be recycled. And we also have the Manatee Watch program where volunteers are trained to document the scar patterns on manatees so we can get a better understanding of how manatees are using Volusia County waterways.
Debbie, when it comes to manatee protection, what are some of the ways that human impacts to both them and their environment can be minimized?
So basically what we try to tell people to do is just really watch out for your boat's speed zones and make sure that you're doing the speed limits in those zones. And watch out for footprints in the water. So that's when you see a little bit of a ripple from the tail of the manatee. So then you know to slow down because there's most likely a manatee trying to get out of your way. Also wearing polarized sunglasses when you're out on the water helps so that you can see the manatee under the water a little bit better.
Interesting. And of course obeying the no wake zones. And
obeying no wake zones, and also just making sure to pick up your trash. Don't leave it loose either on the beach or if you're out on a boat because that could all blow into the waterways and can be eaten by any of the marine mammals or sea turtles and all the other organisms out there, especially the fishing line. Try not to just cut your line, try to get it back and get it to a recycling bin instead of just letting
because
it...
monofilament fishing line affects manatees, but it affects all other kinds of wildlife as well.
Yep, all wildlife can get tangled up in the fishing line. So we see manatees losing pectoral flippers or dolphins losing their entire flukes or turtles ingesting the hooks, and it's just an ongoing problem. So just being really cautious about what you're using around the waterways and making sure to put it into the appropriate containers to make sure we don't pollute the environment.
Very good advice. You mentioned something earlier about harmful algal blooms or red tide as we know it in Florida.
Yeah.
How does that impact the manatee population?
So manatees can get impacted by a large red tide or red algae bloom. It's basically creates respiratory problems for the manatees, and it's really hard for them to recover from that respiratory problems. I mean, even people, if they're out on the beaches during one of their blooms, you can feel that in your breathing and in your chest. So it's not a pleasant place to be in the beaches when we're having one of those blooms. And just, that's a matter of, so red tides occur naturally. However, those big blooms happen from a change in the salinity and other chemical compounds of the water. So we guys have to be really careful about what we're putting onto our lawns and into the environment chemically, because all that will eventually make its way to the waterways, and that'll throw off the chemical compound of the water and potentially create one of these blooms.
I think with what you just said there about is basically a way that an individual resident can try to do something in their own yard to try to help curtail, although it's a natural event, but try to curtail a red tide event.
Yep, a lot of counties actually have their own fertilizer ordinances, and just making sure to follow those, they're put into place for a reason, not only just for the animals, but for our own water supply. We want to make sure that we're, doing our part by, being cautious about how we're treating our lawns. So just look into your county's fertilizer ordinance if they have one, and just try to stick with that.
Right. So the take-home
and that'll
message.
Definitely help.
Right. So the take-home message for an individual homeowner is just listen to what their local regs say about what time of year you ought to be applying fertilizer and what time of year you should be avoiding it altogether.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Very good. Thanks for your time, Debbie.
Sure. No problem.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. We're here at the Lyonia Nature Festival. I'm Tom with the City of Deltona, and I'm here with Allison Lee, and she has such a great story about a book that's been in the works for probably 25 years. So I'm going to let you describe that story, Allison.
Hi, I'm Allison. I am a born and raised Volusia Countyan. I grew up on the Tomoka River, and I spent a lot of time at Blue Springs. And a lot of the animals that I came across as a child formed the basis of this book called The Mystery Monster of Tomoka Springs. It talks about manatees and rattlesnakes and the old Florida cracker culture that used to be in Florida.
Captivating story of animals talking with other animals, It's just illustrated very beautifully. Could you tell us a little bit about the illustrator?
Yes, the illustrator is Rick Cannizzaro. He is a retired individual who lives up in Flagler County, and he does a lot of avocational painting. And I loved his bright artwork and his colors. I had the story in my head for a long time, and he was the first person that I ever talked to that could actually capture the vibrant colors of my imagination. This is just one of many different types of art he's done. He's done stuff with other organizations, but he's the one that really brought my story to life.
Allison, can you do us a little favor? We noticed that the book was laid out in a really unique way.
Okay.
With the pictures being able to be shown to the children you're reading that to.
Okay.
And then the narration on the other side of the book that someone can read.
There's a little bit of a backstory about this. Growing up in Florida, my grandfather would always take me down to the Tomoka River. We would sit underneath a old oak tree, and he would tell me these crazy stories. You know, most of them had a morsel of truth behind them, but he would make them very fabulous, and in my head, these were just epic stories. So my idea originally was stories told under the old Tomoka oak tree. So as you see, we started with the oak tree, and we put the text on one side with the oak tree and the picture on the other. So when you're reading the story to children, you read it this way. You can read the back and show them the picture and talk about what they see in the picture. For example, there's the old oak tree, there's the old cracker house, there's an orange tree, there's the river, and all these are things that are part of Florida heritage and Florida culture. I didn't know that growing up. They were just stories that I heard. And then when I got older, I really appreciated the place they played in Florida history.
Allison, getting to talk to you today, we just have one last question. When's the next book coming out?
Well, life keeps getting in the way of the stories that I need to tell. I'm hoping soon. We've got lots of stories that we want to tell. My girlfriend and I are working together on a couple of stories, and I hope Rick will continue to illustrate them for us. I don't know yet, but I've got them in my head.
Thank you so much, Allison. What a great book and what a great story. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about the book. And I just want to say one more thing, is that Florida outdoors matters. And I hope that through this story I convey my love of the outdoors and help other people and their children get interested in the outdoors of Florida.
So we are a statewide wildflower organization, and we advocate the native wildflowers, hence the name Wildflower Foundation. The wildflowers, the native wildflowers, provide the pollen for our pollinators. So we're very much tied to the agribusiness of Florida. We advocate the natives because they help sustain Florida.
Sure.
And so how we go about doing all of this is we are strongly very much an advocacy organization, and we provide education through kits to schools. We provide research grants to the university, which benefits all agriculture. One of the focuses right now is how do you distinguish between a seedling and a weed, and how, better yet, and more importantly, how to prevent the weeds from even growing in an area where you have broadcasted a lot of seeds. We're interested in wildflowers, but the technology is applicable to any farmer who is broadcasting seeds rather than putting in plants, individual plants. So we do grants, we do education, we work with the legislators, we have roadside plantings, we have a whole corridor up in Panhandle that we've been involved with. That it's a wildflower corridor, it's a tourist destination. Many, many ways that we get the message out. We also, of course, have a website, a fabulous website, and people can go to the Wildflower Foundation.org. Is it .org?
Yeah. FLAwildflowers.org.
There we go. And you can find a wealth of information,
What about insect pollinators? How does that fit into what your foundation does?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Bees and so
well,
forth.
Those are the pollinators.
Yes.
And it's not just bees and butterflies. It could be ants. It could be even wasps, moths.
Right.
But they are attracted to the pollen that the wildflowers provide.
Okay.
And And wildflowers, the native wildflowers, are part of Florida. It's part of our history, ecological history.
Right.
And not just ecological.
Is there a certain, a few names of wildflowers you would suggest a homeowner get started with, or?
Well, we happen to have that they can get this from our office. They can go to our website, and you can just Google Florida Wildflower Foundation.
Right. Good morning. I'm Larry French, and this is Bob Sayer. We're both members of the Enterprise Preservation Society. We want to welcome you here today. We are here to share a lot of the activities and events that are taking place at the Preservation Society site, the Enterprise Museum. We have an upcoming event coming up, which is our chili cook-off in about 2 weeks. We're located in the actual schoolhouse that was built in the 1930s, and we're in the historic community of Enterprise, Florida. The museum is open to the public for free, and we have programming, we have events, and in addition to the chili cook-off, we have run events, we have an actual hot dogs and hot rods event with classic cars coming up in coming weeks. So check out the web page, check out the Facebook page and the other flyers that are available. If you're interested, we are Deltona's neighbor just to the south on Lake Monroe in the historic town of Enterprise, Florida, where all the steamships, the railroads, and everything, and the presidents and all the important people of the day came to visit and can still come today. So come and visit us, and we welcome you to find out about Florida's history.
Hello everybody, how are you doing? Can you hear me okay? Okay. How many of you are enjoying the Wildlife Festival here at Volusia County so far? Isn't it pretty cool? We got some good weather for it. Let's thank the Lyonia Center for putting it on for us. This is really cool. I am Eric Sander. I'm a former commercial shark fisherman. There's a huge market in industry harvesting sharks for seafood. I'm also a former research biologist who was involved with landings efforts. Sharks range in size from 6 inches as an adult to 40 feet. The 6-inch shark is a dwarf pygmy shark. It lives in very deep water, and it's not very common. The whale shark is the largest, and you can see that one right here. This gets up to 40 feet. We have them passing through our waters in the 20-foot range. And what does the backbone look like of a very large shark? That's what it looks like. These are the individual vertebrae from a very large white shark that was caught here off of Daytona several years ago. Here's one right here. This is from a very famous type of shark. This is from the bull shark. You know what's cool about shark jaws? They have 7 rows of teeth.
Eric, thanks so much for your presentation about sharks. It was
Oh,
so
you're welcome.
informative. As a matter of fact, you presented so much about sharks. We have a question not really related to sharks, but how did you personally get interested in sharks?
I grew up on the river in South Daytona, and for some reason I was just a shark nerd. Just fascinated by sharks when I was a kid. The first hardcover book I ever read was a book about sharks from Frank Mundus and the Cricket 2 and all the shark fishing that he used to do. We used to see sharks in the Halifax River in our backyard, and it was just a fascinating thing. Collected shark's teeth in a piece of property that next to us that was filled in, dredged from the river, full of little black shark's teeth. I would put my books in the corner and go over and hunt shark's teeth. I just would spend hours doing that. Fascinated by sharks.
You know, that really brings up an interesting observation. Sometimes people, especially if they visit springs in Florida, for instance, Rock Springs, or some of the lesser known springs throughout Florida, will find shark's teeth in the middle of the state of Florida. How old are those teeth and how do they get there?
Depends on what the deposit is, but they can be millions of years old. Remember, Florida used to be underwater. We used to be covered by a shallow sea, and then in the latest ice age, the water went way down from what it is. But we used to be covered by a shallow sea. Sharks can lose 25,000 teeth in their lifetime. If we have millions of sharks swimming across for who knows how long, that's a lot of teeth that are deposited across this area. So all of Florida is covered with shark's teeth.
So essentially the shark's teeth that we find in a spring in Florida is really ancient.
They're very old.
Yes.
They're very old. And usually they collect in areas where the lighter sediment has been blown away by the springs, or in the Peace River area where the water has exposed or taken away the lighter material and left the heavier shark teeth in place.
That is just fascinating.
A lot of new excavations over in the southwest area of Florida, sometimes they unearth deposits of these really large megalodon teeth. It's just fascinating.
It seems like the state of Florida is just so intertwined and connected to the shark.
Yes.
Another question about that, you mentioned in your talk about black-tip sharks and bull sharks.
Yes.
Black-tip sharks are the sharks you're most likely to encounter in Volusia County beaches.
Yes.
The bull shark, where in Florida do they dominate?
They actually are pretty common through here.
Okay.
They're a little bit further offshore, and occasionally large females will come into the inlet and go down into the Mosquito Lagoon area or the Indian River area around the New Smyrna side and lay their pups.
Okay.
We think there's quite a number of bull sharks down in the Mosquito Lagoon area. I know some people that have caught sizable sharks down there, and a number of fishermen who have had sharks catch off of their line down in that area.
Fascinating.
But so the bull shark does roam through here, but not so much in the surf zone where we see the black-tip shark, where we're exposed to them by swimming.
So when we hear about...
don't ever go swimming at night.
No.
Because that's when the big boys come close to shore, and
And that 68 degree zone was very important.
68 degrees is very important to consider for the black-tip shark. They don't like water temperatures less than that. 68 and above, they can be very common.
So good advice. Swim at temperatures below 68
if you can tolerate it. Yes, that's it.
Eric, thanks so much for your time. Thank you.
I enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us and taking a look at the Lyonia Nature Festival. It's been a beautiful day out here. You can see it's a cloudless sky, and we thank you for visiting the city of Deltona. And one of the things we want to communicate to all our viewers is that Deltona is a lot of things, but it's also a place where nature thrives. And we think today was just a great way to communicate that to everyone. So we appreciate you viewing. So long.